Hi YouTube, today we're going to make a Doc Ock costume. Before we get started, I do want to say that there are parts of this costume that I didn't like how it turned out quality wise, but visually it still looks really cool. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I needed was a trench coat. I found this one at the thrift store, but it was in the women's section. The shoulders fit and the length fit, but the sleeves were too short. So I went to Joann's and I bought some black pleather. And to make it look more like the finished end of a sleeve, I cut some strips and sewed them, folded them over the edge so that they would look like finished cuffs. And I was able to just make those the right length. I'd already measured and marked before I started sewing here. I'm not just eyeballing it. And then even though I did pin it here, I ended up super gluing those sleeve lengtheners on, just because with all the leather it was really hard to work with on the sewing machine. Alright, as far as the trench coat sleeves, I have them connected now. Because leather's really hard to sew through and a lot of times it comes unthreaded or jams up the machine, I had the idea that instead of sewing these on, and I did sew the cuffs and this, but instead of sewing them on, I super glued just around where it needed to go. Yeah, that's facing me. I super glued around the edge and carefully stuck it in. I did get super glue on my fingers, but oh well, that happens. Yeah, and now it fits my husband. And that's all we needed, was that much more length. If I put it on, you will see that it no longer fits me. The next thing I needed was to start finding a way to connect the octopus arms. I found this backpack at the thrift store. It was super cheap, and I am just going to cut off the actual pack part of it so that it is just like a panel that sits on the back. To do that, I'm going to keep the straps on and get rid of this part here. So I just took some fabric scissors and cut that off, which left me with this piece right here. Yeah. Alright, to make the Dr. Octopus arms, you're going to need 4 pool noodles. I've already done 2 of them, so because I can only do 2 of them at a time. So here's the other 2. And all you're going to do, well, first you'll take off the stickers, which is kind of annoying, but oh. And then I'm just going to cut this at an angle at the edge. I don't want to nick my table, so I'm going to lift it up there. And do the same thing to this one. It doesn't need to be exact or precisely the same. That'll give you a nice tapered edge on those. Alright, then I have these croquet sticks here, and I'm just gonna pointy side up, stick these pool noodles right on top of those. This allows me to paint it in one go instead of needing to paint one side and then turn it. I'm just going to interject here and say that this step was completely unnecessary because to fix some problems that crop up later that I wasn't expecting, I ended up covering the entire things in duct tape, so I didn't need to spray paint them or paint them at all. In fact, that was messier because the paint flaked everywhere. It was bad. I ran out of paint and tried using other metallic paints that I had, and I ran out of all of them because each can only had a little bit. So I will be hand painting silver acrylic paint on now. So use spray paint and get enough spray paint for your project. Hi, so I am working on the arms and getting the details down them. And so I have created a system here. I didn't record right away because I wanted to make sure it worked, but it does work. So now I will show you what it is. I have the stand for the keyboard here. I took the keyboard off. It's on the ground over there. And I am using it so that I can create these duct tape strips that are double-sided so that they're not sticky. And there's 11 hung there, 11 hung there. 4 here, I had to go get another roll of duct tape. And I need to make 44 of these, 11 for each arm, because that's about what fits on each pool noodle. So I will show you now how I'm doing that. We're gonna time lapse this. Alright, I reached the end of that one, and I can't actually turn, oh, now it's sticking on itself. I can't really turn this one into anything because the length of it, I would need it to fold about right here. But this part's connected to the paper. So I will have to go buy new duct tape. I don't have time to do that today, but I did get, I need 44. 11 of these for each arm, and I do have 34, so I just need to make 10 more. And yeah, I used up 2 full rolls, and then this was a leftover roll of duct tape. Let's start putting these actually on. Let's start turning these into loops. To turn these into loops, I'm going to be using this kind of yellow neon duct tape. I couldn't find a straight up like normal yellow, just the yellow neon. But I want it to look similar to the yellow that is on the Doc arms that you see here. Doc Ock arms that you see here. But I figured it would be a good way to adhese the strips into loops. In order to do that, I'm going to start by just making some strips that I can use and kind of hanging them on this same keyboard rack here. But these, I'm just gonna cut about that much for each one. These scissors are gumming up from all the duct tape. There we go. And once I have those, I'm going to stick them like that. Pull this around. Try and get them pretty flush. And then just wrap this. It doesn't need to be perfect. And now I've got a loop. So now we're going to do that to all 34 of these and the 10 more that I make later. So I failed again. It's all part of the learning process. I was trying to use electric tape to tape those loops that I made along one of the arms, doing 11 along the arms. The electrical tape does not stick to the pool noodle, or if it sticks to normal pool noodle, it does not stick to a painted pool noodle. It pulled the paint right off, and it didn't hold the loops on. The loops were super heavy. So here's what's left of the one pool noodle that I did try to put those on. So I have 2 there, and I was going to do a third in the back so that it would create kind of a triangular shape of here, like this shape here, but surrounding the pool noodle. And it was supposed to look like the cinematic version. 44 loops of duct tape. I just wish I could tell myself in the past now that, hey, you're going to use 40 of those in the final product, and it's going to look great, and it's going to be okay because you're going to sleep on it and you're going to come up with something genius. Alright, so as you can see, this is the one that's not connected. I've got a zip tie across each one, and then at the tip where I had cut those slants out, there's another zip tie coming around. The way I am achieving this, I need 2 zip ties, 1, 2 for each arm, and this arm goes here, and I've got an awl, and I'm just gonna poke guide holes so I know about where those go. And then with those guide holes, and this is where it gets kind of tricky because the arms totally get in the way, the ones that are already on. I'm just going to poke through and do the same with this one. And I'm trying not to go through this last layer, that pocket layer. Then I take my zip tie and push it into the hole that I just made. Make sure it goes all the way through. It did not go all the way through, and that's why you make sure. This is a really awkward angle to work at, trying to keep it in the camera angle. Alright. And then stick it up through the second hole, if you can find where that's at. Alright, once you get the zip tie through the first hole, you just need to send it back up through the second hole, like so, and that can be a little bit tricky, but that's okay, so that you have that. And then you just take your pool noodle, and you want to get this zip tie nice and tight around it. And yes, it should change the shape there. Then with this excess, instead of cutting it, I'm just sort of tucking it back around inside. for right now. I might cut it later, but I feel like that looks smoother that way. And then you need your awl again, and you want to start this one going through the noodle and then through the pack. Don't get your legs, don't hurt yourself. Pull it out. Grab this and stick it in there and through the hole in the pack. There you go. And you're gonna want to you're gonna want to pull this zip tie that way with your hand that's underneath here. And then you want to take your awl and poke another hole, or find that original guide hole. Mine ended up a little bit off from where that guide hole was, so I'm going to make another hole. And send the zip tie back up. There it is. And connect it there. And I'm going to put this flat on the ground. And you can see all of this paint that's flecked off here. I don't know if that's just because I didn't use the right kind of paint. As you know, I ran out of paint and used acrylic instead of spray paint, but I feel like the spray paint came off with the electric tape anyways. It was the lighter silver, so I don't know. Anyways, and then with this tail, I'm just sending it through so it's under the pool noodle, but not through the pack, and it's actually going through the inside of the pool noodle there. Okay, so with that part done, you've now got, ooh, it hit the fan. You've now got a backpack with 4 arms. And you can adjust it. I actually switched these straps so that they faced inwards, since this used to be the part of the back, since the part of the backpack that's now facing the back used to be the part that would face the human wearing it. But yeah, now I just gotta figure out how to make some claws, which I'm going to make out of cardboard. I really am bummed that I made all of those loops for nothing, and it's not even going to be part of the costume. Even an hour ago, I was certain it was. Alright, I've been experimenting with some ideas on a fresh pool noodle that is not part of the costume. And I think I figured something out here. So I'm going to cut slits. And then I actually have to cut apart my loops so that they are strips. And I can stick the strips into the slits. And then I just have to make sure to get them pretty even. And then I can have the cool parts on the arms. There's going to be so much paint flaking off. I think I'm going to mark thirds in Sharpies and then move over like an inch and mark thirds again so that I know where to slit. And then I'm going to do, and then with that same Sharpie, I'm going to draw lines so I know how far apart to cut each slit. Yeah, I will get back to you when I have that done. After I slit the pool noodles and put the strips through, the pool noodle was looking pretty weak. So I took duct tape and laid it across on the pool noodle. Then I took more and went between each strip, if that makes any sense. And yeah, this is what I've got. Lewis, please let go. All right, let's move on to the claws. So I created 12 of these kind of triangles with the rectangles connected, and I just used the natural fold of a box, and then I also scored the edge so I could create a second bend in there, and I just covered them in duct tape so they would match the rest of the arms. And yeah, you can see here how that was done, and I cut off the excess. Ta-da! This ended up being really easy, and then right about here I realized that I needed to fold this that way. There we go. So that's the shape you want. Ta-da! Okay, so I've prepped the claws like that, and I'm just going to take them, and this tape is loose here, and I'm just going to tape each one around the edge of a arm. And there we go. Each arm has a claw now. Okay, the other thing here is that the arms were gonna break off where the zip ties were. So I like super duct taped this on the back. So it's not as chic as I was gonna make it. With the lines that are on the backpack, I was originally going to make like a spine out of foam and put that on, but this is how far I am, and I need to post this video tonight, so yeah, there's one more thing I need to do. Okay, the last thing I did was I took this pipe, it was 8 feet long, and I just stuck it in the upper arms to give it some more structure to make them stand upright, and cut off the excess, which was actually very easy to do. Once I got a little groove cut in it with the knife, I was able to just snap it. So yeah, this was just $4.99 at Ace Hardware for 8 feet of it. All right, so that's how I made it. Now let's go to the reveal.
The sun in the palm of my hand.
Alright, so that's the whole Doc Ock costume. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more creative videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when I upload. I upload most Mondays, and in October I upload multiple times a week for Hallow-Leen. Don't forget to stay creative. Thanks for watching. Bye.